Welcome to Ambition's Apex, your guide to mastering the art of physique transformation and achieving peak performance across all arenas of life. Our mission is not just to sculpt bodies, but to change lives, empowering you towards excellence. Dive in with us as we explore insights and strategies designed to elevate you towards your journey of self-improvement. Enjoy the ascent. Welcome back to another episode of Ambition's Apex. As always, my name is Sean Irwin and I am your host. Today, I am accompanied by a good friend, a long-term athlete of mine, a new coach on the Saga Coaching team, Jacob Carmona. Him and I have known each other for a long time and stuck through it all. And we've had a fantastic journey together with him competing as a bodybuilder over the years as well. And today we're kind of going to talk a bit about his journey so far and some of the things he's learned along the way. And as always, you know, this is going to be a little bit bodybuilding centric, but that's not to say that most of what we talk about, or a lot of what we talk about, at least from a more philosophical and standpoint and, you know, motivational standpoint, and maybe not necessarily specific application standpoint, but a lot of it can apply to anybody wanting to accomplish anything significant or have ambitions to accomplish anything significant in life. So Jacob, how are you doing? And thank you for joining me today. Any opening remarks here?
No, just I've been super stoked to join the podcast. I've been watching behind the scenes like, oh, when am I going to get my chance? So I'm really excited to be here and I'm doing good. I just got my teeth, I got teeth clean, productive morning. So yeah, I'm just ready to rock and roll.
Nice, man. Love it. Teeth cleaning always feels good, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, yeah. So Jacob and I, we grew up in the same area. We, went to school together and stuff as well. And throughout the years, it's funny because whenever I saw Jacob in high school and stuff, I was always like, this guy's arms are like crazy. I always had like vascular arms and, he always looked really muscular and stuff. So it's kind of funny, like a bit of a foreshadowing in terms of, him turning into a bodybuilder, not only a bodybuilder, but a successful one as well, and continuing the journey and the climb towards that pro status as well. So, Jacob, do you remember around the specific time that you reached out to me for us to start working together?
Not this exact date, but I know specifically when. So it was in 2021 at the end of the year. I believe it was around December, because that year was a big year for me. A lot of changes, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of life things. But long story short, that was my first year of stop drinking alcohol. And I had a lot of goal early in the year. I stopped drinking and I had a lot of mental and physical goals that I was trying to achieve. I achieved a lot of them. And for the longest time, I've always wanted to compete in a bodybuilding show, but the way that my life had been up until that point, I never saw it as like a reality. And then once I stopped drinking and got healthy again, not just physically, but mentally, I was like, you know what? If I can not drink for this long, I think I can go through a bodybuilding prep and, stay strict on a diet and strict with training. And the training part was never an issue for me. It was the diet and just not knowing what to have structure and what to eat and whatnot. So we ran into each other so many times throughout the years, and you were doing personal training. And then I saw that you had started the Saga Coaching. So I was like, hey, let me reach out to Sean. He's an old buddy. I don't know if he's got enough people on his roster. I literally remember saying I don't know if you have any room. I know you're a busy guy, but if you can squeeze me in or something, maybe sometime next year. And you're like, no, open arms. You're just like, come on. Yeah. I remember growing up, you had these crazy big arms. And so literally what you just said earlier. So I was just like, oh, that's awesome. But we did 3 months first, because you were kind of just like, let's see if you even like doing this. And I think that's a really good way of kind of setting people up, not to setting people up with not the highest expectations, but just hey, realistic expectations. Let's see if you like the structure, if you like the meal plan, if you like the training that I'm giving you, and then we'll kind of reconvene. And I fell in love with it. So that's kind of that was the foundation of what we started. So that was in the end of 2021, and then 2022, that was the first 3 months. And then after that, we just started working together ever since.
Yeah, man, it's been a journey so far, and it's been such a pleasure working with you as well. And you've been such a stellar athlete from the jump, and It's almost like you were meant to be a bodybuilder, man, because you just got in and your body just started to transform. You were adherent off the rip. You know, the level of training intensity that you had off the rip was just stellar as well. And you've just like set a standard with yourself and rode that the entire way through. And we're coming up on like 5, 6 years, and it's been the entire time at the same standard throughout the entire process. Now, you mentioned kind of us setting realistic expectations on the front end. It's something I definitely prioritize with athletes, especially new competitors. I'm not really taking on new competitors at the moment. You and Danielle are handling those at this point, but it's still a big priority. And what are some of the things that you faced earlier on that you maybe weren't expecting, and how did you kind of overcome those things or navigate them, I suppose, if they weren't quite as bit of a challenge? Like I said, when you started, it seemed like a pretty seamless transition. You were just kind of like just right in it, but was there anything that kind of like you weren't expecting or any challenges you faced on the front end?
Like I said before, the nutrition part was a little bit of a learning curve in the fact of like I kind of not have to eat the same things every day because we have we have uh, like different food conversions and different food options, but being structured in that aspect and like eating 5 times. Well, now I eat 4 times. Four times? No, five.
I
I'm
think we're at
tripping.
still 5 meals a day.
Yeah. But at the beginning, we were doing 6 meals, so that was a
Hmm.
big learning curve, and like I got to like map out throughout the day, like okay, every whatever hours I need to eat. I need to eat again, and so that was kind of a big thing, especially working like a 9 to 5 type of job. Which my job is I've been working at the same job for 9 years, so I have a very good job where I can like basically eat every 2 hours if I need to. But that was a learning curve a little bit, but weighing my food again, I never weighed any, like I knew about like macro tracking kind of and like what macros were, but like literally weighing every single thing, that was like, oh, okay, I got to get a scale, I got to figure out what this is, and weighing, because we have different ways of, like when we do our carbs we weigh it after it's cooked, and then proteins when it's raw. So like kind of figuring that whole thing, that dynamic. But now, like obviously I've been doing it for almost 5 years now. It's like second nature. But yeah, in the beginning it was a little tricky and time consuming, and I came from a background too where I love to cook. So like that part of the cooking wasn't the issue. It was just like figuring like just time structure and figuring things out in that aspect. And then I'd say with the training, I've always loved training. Like, so I've been working out and like in the health and fitness world since I was like in high school. So the biggest thing that I think every like guy kind of really loves and falls in love with is training and working out in the gym
Hmm.
and that camaraderie and lifting heavy weights and just being a bro. So like I always had that part down, I feel like. And even back then, like I remember like I would work out with some buddies and they would be like, man, you're going hard. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Like I just thought it was like you're supposed to like train till failure. You're supposed to train till like you're like having your buddy help you, do those 4 steps. But the part that was a little different for me, and I love it now, but back then the mentality was like doing as many reps, as many sets as you possibly, like that pyramid up and then pyramid down, basically
Hmm.
just running yourself into a wall. Where now the focus is less is more, and just like having the whole structure of being warming up, hitting two like top sets, and then going on to the next thing. So that was a big learning curve for me because I was so used to doing like high volume, and I didn't
Hmm.
realize at the time that it was probably not, I wasn't like regressing, but I probably could have progressed a lot more if I hadn't done such a high volume. But now that's I test to like why I've grown, and like just like why my body, it just is like just literally reforms after every show and after every year. It's just like the training is just like it's the best. Like we talked about this a lot, and how there's grays through and everything with like nutrition and training and stuff. But I really think that less is more in a lot of things in life. And that was a learning curve. But like once I started to get into it and like really like nailing those, like not just like the sets, but then really focusing on the time under tension and just like the control of the weight. And again, just like you showed me, like, hey, you gotta like don't speed through the set, really control, hold the squeeze, all those different cues and things. And it just was like a game changer. And so like I got on really quickly, but that was like in the beginning a big like learning curve. because I was, again, just so used to just doing as many reps as I freaking possibly could and just like throwing the weight up and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, now it's like completely different.
Yeah, just creating structure and more of an efficient approach around things. And, it's, man, in recent years, I've just seen a lot of black and white conversation around like fatigue and training volume, right? It's either
Mm-hmm.
high volume or low volume, or like the two camps arguing against each other, or like fatigue is bad, or like this person said fatigue is bad. You're supposed to be fatigued. It's just always this pendulum swing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's neither of those things, right? Like
No.
fatigue isn't good or bad, it's something that's managed. Training volume isn't like this, like high volume is relative, low volume is relative, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
relative to the individual, it's relative to the entire training program, how things are laid out throughout the week, the amount of working sets per muscle group per
Mm-hmm.
week. There's so many nuances to that. It's not just like, when I hear people having that kind of argument where it's just like good or bad and this and that, it just screams ignorance to me, and
Mm-hmm.
not understanding, like being able to look at something within context. And it's very specific to the individual too, right? Like in terms of, somebody's recovery capacity, right, within their lifestyle. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of contributing factors to that. So what looks like, an amount of volume that's placed on one person, and the amount of fatigue that's accumulated from that looks different from another individual because of a lot of contributing factors. There's genetic components to that. There's functional health components to that, like, functional health status within the entire system. There's also just like, sleep patterns, there's life stress, there's the total allostatic load that we're looking at. So it's all relative to the individual and relative to, the goals and all this other stuff. It's never this black and white conversation. I understand like the nuance is like maybe a little bit more boring. It doesn't necessarily get as many views or as many people wanting to hear it. It doesn't ruffle as many feathers necessarily, but it's the reality,
Mm-hmm.
and like for you with training, we've developed, over time, something that works extremely well for you specifically within your given goals, your given recovery capacity. And what's beautiful about that is that we're able to push the envelope to extremes with an efficient sort of system in place that's sustainable long term, where we don't end up with injuries. We don't end like, you're always recovering, you're always progressing on your
Yep.
exercises. Nearly every check-in, you're making progress on the gym floor. You're getting stronger every single week. You're beating your numbers on the gym floor. Your recovery capacity is fantastic. You're not digging yourself into the ground where your nervous system's
Mm-hmm.
just fried and you're lacking sleep and all these other things, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like, and I've talked about this before too. People demonize the word balance because it's like bodybuilding is not supposed to be balanced. And I talked about this with Austin Stout on a podcast this year as well, where it's not like we can have extremes, but balance within the extremes, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not just like, if you're just extreme all the time and you're redlining stuff, what happens when I like to think of the analogy with like bodybuilders as like high performance vehicles, right? Like a race car, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not set up well and we don't have the right parts in place and we don't have the right system in place, we don't have the right maintenance in place, and you're just redlining that thing all the time, it's gonna break,
Yeah.
and that's what happens, right? Like we can push it, we may be able to get crazy performance on the front end, but it's gonna break and you're gonna lose the race, right? Like a
Yeah.
race isn't worth like go if like the first lap your car is breaking down, right? So we have to have the right systems in place. We have to have the right maintenance in place. We have to have everything taken into consideration to be able to sustain the whole race, and then even preserve the car after the race, right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
the whole objective here. So, and racing is an extreme thing, right? Like you're taking a race car. It's not like you're just taking a Toyota Camry to the grocery store. We're racing the damn car. We're going fast, but we're creating a system and using the right parts and the right quality of parts and the efficiency within the system to create a car that can go the entire race without breaking down, win the race, and then we can go to the next race, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of how I see bodybuilding as well. And this discussion just it becomes a lot more nuanced, and it's not this like black and white thing like fatigue is good and bad or volume has to be high or low. It's like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even mean? What does a scale look like? Where like low volume could mean like you do 2 working sets per week, like, or
Yeah.
high volume could mean you're doing 200 working sets per week. Like what does that even mean, right? So like,
Mm-hmm.
finding that scale and then finding the sweet spot within the given context so that somebody can recover well, make progress in the gym, and progressively overload their exercises over long periods of time so that they can win the race long term,
Yeah.
right? Like that's what it's all about. Like if you're going into the gym and you're just like redlining the car and then you break and like you get an injury or you're not recovered well for the next session, then we're not able to go in and do it again. So it's just
Mhm.
about finding that sweet spot where we're pushing the envelope. It's still an extreme thing. Like people get that completely wrong. Still an extreme thing. We're just being more efficient within the time that we're in the gym so that we can continue doing it over and over and over again and end up winning the race long term. And then also still have the high performance vehicle long term where it can like, last a long time. And then after bodybuilding, you're continuing on the rest of your life without like significant injuries or like,
Mhm.
stuck in a wheelchair, your organs are failing, whatever that may look like, or heart disease, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why it's really important. And I try to apply that kind of concept to pretty much everything we do. It's
Mhm.
an art form. I truly believe with coaching where we are pushing the envelope, pushing the extreme, but finding like fine tuning things and tweaking things and making it really sustainable over long periods of time while still being able to have that high performance outcome where we're
Mhm.
still winning the race, right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was gonna even bring up too, like when we first started, I was training. You had me on a 3 on rest, 3 on, 1 off, 3 on. So like essentially training 6 days a week, and then that was like a rotating schedule. But in the beginning, and then this is I was also gonna bring up too, like it also depends. Like everything you're saying is like totally agree with, but like also depends on kind of bring it back to coaching, like the individual, their goals, what they're wanting to do. Because like
Exactly.
not everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but if they
Hmm.
have like lifestyle, like we have lifestyle clients and stuff. But regardless, like in the beginning, our my goal, I had like I was pretty chunky when I got when I first started working with you. So you had me like working out like a lot, and it was good though because I was able to do it. I was getting back into the gym, so I had like all this like yeah, let's go kind of thing. And it was we just had to hit a lot of different body parts because we were kind of start from ground zero. And over the years, you've actually like reduced the amount of training to now we're only training 4 days a week. So I got 2 rest days. One day is for posing, and like I use that as my cardio day too. But like 4 actual training days. So like after 4 years, like we've kind of developed like this. We've progressed to where like yes, less is more, but I'm still training just as hard, and I'm like hitting
Hmm.
like we have more like goals and focuses on like now. I think we're gonna switch it up even a little bit more at the end of this month because now I'm in classic physique, but kind of aiming more towards like it's always been like my back growth, and in the beginning was leg growth, but now my legs have grown so much we got to bring the leg
Hmm.
volume a little down. But in the beginning, I do attest that like I was doing two like at least for like the last 2 years, like up until last year, like the first 2 years, I was doing 2 full leg days. And like, yeah, it was hard, but like I needed to do that because my legs were like toothpicks and they needed to grow and catch up with my upper body. Now it's like, okay, now the upper body needs to catch up a little bit with the lower body. But again, yeah, it depends on like the individual's goals as well and like what they're able to do. Because again, my job, and that's like another part of like the coaching thing is like the athlete, being able to relate to, or relay to the coach saying like what kind of job they do and stuff. So if you have like a physically demanding job, then yeah, of course you're not going to be able to do as much in the gym. I don't. I have a very, I'm blessed with my job, so I am able to do more. So that's why in the beginning it wasn't that hard. I would still be able to do that type of training, but again, it's like we don't need to because that
Hmm.
the goals have changed over the last couple of years, and it's always changing.
Yeah, 100%. It becomes a more of a specificity kind of game in terms
Hmm.
of, volume allocation towards specific body parts that we're trying to bring up. And on the front end, you pretty much needed to grow everywhere. So it
Yeah.
was like, spreading that volume across like pretty much all body parts that were, effective for the bodybuilding division, right? And
Hmm.
growing everything essentially. And then as you've progressed, it's become more specificity where we're like, okay, we need to bring up this certain body part, or we need
Hmm.
to, even reduce size in certain areas to balance things out a little bit, or just shift that focus towards, other body
Areas.
parts.
Hmm.
And then again, creating something that's really, sustainable. And now with classic physique, you have the size, obviously we're at the weight cap, and we're like, the weight cap is what one of our challenges as
182.
far as,
Yeah.
yeah, as far as management goes, right? That 182 is just like ingrained in your brain at this point. Yeah, so like, it's about like refinement at this point where we're
Hmm.
like, shifting volume towards what needs to kind of maybe come up. And it's more like almost like, this isn't what we're doing, obviously, but it's almost like taking muscle from one place and putting it somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
obviously that's not what's happening physiologically, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Hmm.
So it's kind of just like refinement and working with what we already have and refining what you already have, because at this point, like we can't afford to grow significantly anymore until you
Yeah.
turn pro. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, so just more structure around training and stuff on the front end is what you kind of experience. Now, we did your first show. Was it that same? It was the same
The
year,
same
like
year.
at the
Yep.
end of the year in
It was it
2021.
was December, so it was like, yeah, almost like
Mhm.
a little over a year from when we started working together, and that was the Texas Cup. Yeah.
It was the
At
Texas Cup.
what's that city? It's like starts with a B or something. I can't remember, but it's like in the middle
Yeah,
of the country.
it's out in the middle of nowhere in Texas.
Hmm. Yeah.
The 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 venue used to be at like it was like a little rodeo place, like where they
Yeah,
would
that's
host
right.
like little rodeos, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, you did extremely well at the first show. Your conditioning was obviously stellar. Your conditioning pretty much across the board has been pretty damn stellar. Obviously, like there's certain times, and we set a high expectation on the front end too. It's like
Hmm.
we were able to accomplish like really insane levels of conditioning with you. And so any deviation of that is like we messed up, but it's like still crazy amounts
Yeah.
of conditioning comparative to like, the rest of the show. So
Yeah.
but your first show, you did middleweight and you won your class, and then you went on to fight for the overall, and you put up a fight for the overall, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about,
Yeah, I went
for
up
your
against the
first show.
guy that won the year before, so that
Yeah,
was, yeah, interesting. But no, I mean, it was. I still have all the, like, that's the first that show I've gotten the most like awards from, because I did like the novice category, true
that's right.
novice, and then I did open middleweight class. So I got like three trophies there. I got an overall because I got the overall in the true novice. So that was awesome. And then yeah, I went up for the actual like open overall middle open bodybuilding division, and yeah, that was a ton of fun. Like, it was so crazy because, like, I look back at it now and I see like so many people starting their first shows, and now I'm a coach, so reaching out to people like wanting to start shows and compete and stuff. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, it's such a blur, but like for me, and I kind of, this is kind of like me relating to, like, giving my experience to other people, is like, try not to have like not any expectations. Obviously, we go in and we want to win and we want to be competitive. But like, I really went to that show like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. Like, I'm just here to have fun. I'm just here to, like, this is like a dream of mine, and it's still like a dream of mine to be able to do this. And I absolutely love it. And it literally is like one of my biggest passions in life. So, like, the fact that I was able to step on stage was just like, so like a year ago, like a little over a year prior to that, I'm like, I never thought I would be here. So that whole year, yeah, it was like, I think I remember I did so much cardio that year. Like, that's the most cardio I've done working with, like, I've only worked with you, but since we've been working together, because again, I was a little chunky, so I had a lot of body fat. But I don't remember it being hard at all. Like, I just like went into it just like, I got to do it. Like, this is it. I love it. Like, and it was a trip, but it was so much fun. But yeah, I had like no expectations, and like just got right there, basically, like, next to the overall winner, and it was awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. And then yeah, we the first that was like a fantastic first show experience for you 100%. And from the jump too, like your stage presence has always been just absolutely stellar. Like you just look like you are so excited to be up there having the time of your life, like big smile on your
Yeah.
face, like not nervous about posing at all. You're just like in your element. So, what did that feel like with your first show? Like, because most people get really nervous, especially like
Yeah.
during peak week and stuff, and their nerves may be high. They're stressed out about a lot of stuff, just like putting all the final touches together and what to prepare for, especially for their first show with,
Yeah.
not knowing what to expect and, navigating things. They don't have the experience to know like exactly how things are going to play out. They don't know, they've never been backstage at a show before. They don't know like how things work at all.
Yeah.
And the coach is like having to like give them every single tiny little detail so that they're not, and like keeping them calm at the same time to manage the stress of it. But what did it feel like the first time getting on stage, like backstage and stuff? Were you nervous? Like when you got up there, did you just feel like it was time to shine, or what did that look like?
A little bit of all, like, see all of the above. But like, one thing, kind of like you said, I would want to highlight what helped a lot, I mean, and again, like, not trying to like boost your ego up, but I am trying to boost your ego up, was having you in my corner, because like I was so new to this, and you literally made it so easy, and you prepared me, especially with, and talking about posing. That was like the biggest thing I noticed. Like a lot of the amateur guys, because I was doing like the novice category and the true novice, so I was up against guys that also had never competed. Seeing, obviously, when I'm on stage, not obviously, but when I'm on stage, I don't look at the other guys and how they're posing. I'm literally just like in my world, just focusing on myself and what I need to do. But when I have to look back at pictures, and I remember telling you this too, like seeing their posing, I'm like, that's crazy. But like you, because I was just kind of astounded, like they're posing, no offense to those guys, but some of them just didn't have the best posing, but they just didn't have the proper tools, and they didn't know. Whereas you
Mhm.
gave me all the tools. You gave me a posing coach. You're like, reach out to Josiah from Grassfed, and like he like just made my posing night and day difference, like so much better, and it just made me feel confident on stage. So that was a huge thing. So was I nervous? Yes. Like even thinking about it now, I'm getting nervous. But it was good nerves. Like my stepdad always told me, like growing up, if you don't feel nervous about something, then that means you don't care. You don't have like
Mhm.
passion for it. And like leading up to the show, like as it got closer and closer, like those nerves were building. But again, I think what helped a lot, again, having you in my corner, having my friends and family, and I just also having the, like, not putting those high expectations on myself to not win, but just going in there and just giving it my all, and like just having fun with it. So I think that was a huge thing. But like leading up, I remember like right before getting on stage, like, oh, I was like, I wasn't shaking, but I was like to the point where I was gonna like, felt like I was gonna start shaking. But then I remember the first time I stepped on stage, I felt those lights on me. You don't see anybody on stage, like you just can't see, like you can't make out anybody because those lights are so bright. Even the judges like can barely even make out. So then it kind of like helped those nerves, because I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna be like, pretend like I'm just up here doing my normal posing. And then I'm just like, it just felt like it was like kind of like one of those like light bulb moments, like I'm meant to be up here, I'm meant to do this. Like literally that was like the first thought I had when I stepped on the stage for the first time. I'm like, I like everything has that I've done in my life has led up to this, and like I need to keep continuing to do this. Like it just like, that's when that, like I've always had the passion for bodybuilding, but like that's when that passion just like that fire just lit. So then I think that's when like the nerves just kind of went away, and I was just up there just having a grand old time. And ever since then, like even when the shows I haven't done the best or whatever, or placed the best, like I'm still like, I get to do this for, like, this is so much fun. Like, it's just crazy. I mean, I still think about it all the time. I'm like, it's crazy I get to do this. But and then again, like having you back there, because I think you were backstage with me,
Mhm.
and so having you telling me what to do, when to pump up, when to take my pump product, and all that, that was also like alleviated. It helped like all like give less stress and left, like kind of just again gave me get that more confidence. Just okay, we're good. Like Sean's here, he's gonna tell me what to do. And so now we've gotten to a point where like you don't go backstage with me anymore, because I'm like, I know what to do. Like we've
Mhm.
been doing this for a
If
while,
anything,
so
you want your space now, right?
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that first show I was definitely like, no, 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 please, like I kind of need you
Mhm.
here, because again, it's so new. But now I'm like, no, I want to be in my own, yeah, exactly, just kind of be in my own zone, in my own thoughts, kind of just like prepare, blah blah blah, whatever. And then have you check in with me every now and then. But yeah, that I get nervous with every show though. That's the thing. Like I do. I always get nervous, but again, it's like good nerves for me, and I kind of use that to like my advantage, and it kind of just builds a little more confidence, and it just kind of instills that like, okay, I'm meant to be here, because I do think about that first show all the time, and it's like that, like I said, that light bulb moment.
Mhm. Absolutely, man. And, I appreciate the kind words. And, it's been a very synergistic sort of relationship that we've had where, it's just equal effort
Mhm.
sustained over long periods of time. And, a lot of what you're talking about is just passion and love for the sport. And we've talked about that on this podcast before. Like, bodybuilding is a really intense thing and very intensive and very demanding, and sacrifices can be involved depending on the context as well. And you've been able to sustain it because you just have so much actual passion and love for the sport. And a lot of people get into the sport for the wrong reasons. They're just trying to follow like the trend of it, or they see other people doing it and they're like, I want the glitz and the glam of it and the the notoriety, and I want to be able to post my state shots on Instagram and all this kind of stuff. But you're doing it for the right reasons. You actually genuinely love the sport and you're passionate about it. And like your stepfather said too, you know, if you're not nervous about something, then you may not care about it enough. And the fact that you still get nervous at shows says a lot, you know, and you still get that adrenaline rush. I grew up doing a lot of like racing stuff. So like racing BMX and motocross, and like every race when I was on that gate, like I was just adrenaline dumping,
Yeah.
just so nervous, just ready to go though, you know,
Yeah.
the anticipation. It's because I cared. I wanted to win, you know. So,
Mhm.
and it's fun, you know, that adrenaline rush is fun. You kind of
It is.
start chasing it a little bit, right? So,
Exactly.
but yeah, man. So after the Texas Cup, we went on to we took an off season, obviously,
Hmm.
grew some more because you still had some shoes to fill just for middleweight. And then
Hmm.
we did the Texas State was the next show
Yeah.
that we did.
Yeah. So then again, we kind of timed it about a year out. So Texas
Yep.
State, I believe was it November? I think it was November because I think we
November
only
or
got,
October time, I think,
yeah,
the following year,
yeah, yeah. And then we did that show first, and then we did nationals. So that was the first year nationals came to Houston. So we kind of
or
like,
to Dallas, right? Irving.
or sorry, yeah, Dallas. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Sorry.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was the first year it came to Dallas or Texas, so
Hmm.
Dallas, and so we kind of both thought like perfect timing. Let's do a national show. Like you felt that confident, like gave me that confidence, and I'm like, because again, that first show I was just like, I don't know, this is gonna be a hobby, or maybe I can just do this like for once or twice and whatever, or long term. I don't know. So after that, and like winning and like seeing like, oh crap, I can actually do good with this thing. I
Hmm.
was like, we were both like, okay, let's keep doing this, and yeah, we did an off season, grew, and then went into the Texas State. That was a great show. That one, we did middleweights again. I won my weight class and then made it to the overall. And the guy that won was like I think 40 pounds heavier than me.
Yeah. It was a
He
super
was.
heavy, I think,
It
that
was
one, right?
the only super. He was literally the only competitor in the super heavyweight category. So he won by
That's
default, and then he
right.
just won the overall because he was just a big, big, big guy. But
Hmm.
again, from what we took from that show and what like you had told me, and then everybody else was like, your posing, the conditioning was better than him. Yeah, his posing, and I remember seeing like videos, and his posing was like, ooh. But again, it just that's like a big thing, like that. Whenever I start, getting clients that are going to want to compete is like the posing. Like we got to get that posing down, and I still,
Hmm.
we still work on it too. Like I'm still working on it. Like I'm not perfect at all, but being able to know how to hit certain poses like correctly that fit your body type, it's so crucial. Like, and now that I'm in the classic physique division, now it's like even more crucial. And now figuring that all out is like it's a ton of fun, but it's just like now we really got to hit these certain poses to really let my physique shine. So that was what I took away from that. But then also like the conditioning, and that was another thing I forgot to bring up too. Like I never even realized how like that I could get that condition to where like you could see every freaking muscle fiber on my
Hmm.
like legs and arms and abs, and like I just never thought I could get that like shredded. So that was like a huge like this is crazy. so
Hmm.
so yeah, that was cool. Texas State, and then we did the nationals, and we had Flip, Danielle, and I. So three of us do that show, and that was a ton of fun. Again, that show was definitely didn't, of course, wanted to get my pro card, obviously, but we went into that show. I kind of went more like the first show, like, okay, I don't know what the expectations are going to be because, again, this was my first national show. Um, and I think I got seventh or eighth. I can't remember. I think it was
I think it
eighth
was
because
six, wasn't it, or seventh?
no, I got sixth the last time, the most
Oh,
recent
okay.
universe. So universe
Okay.
was the closest I've gotten to the top two. So I think not that I was like eighth or I can't because Danielle got seventh or no, she got sixth. So maybe it was
Danielle
like
got
maybe
six, though. That's right.
yeah, yeah. So maybe I got seventh. I got that's right. But that was a stacked show, and I remember you saying like that was like the biggest national show that you'd ever seen at that time, and it
Especially
was
for
just
the bodybuilding division was insane at that show. It
yeah,
was just
yeah,
like it was intense. And I've been to a lot of national level shows, and that one was like that was really a very intense show with very,
hmm,
very deep classes
yeah,
for the bodybuilding. Every division was extreme, like the field was really, really deep. And
hmm,
like first call outs was just like apples and oranges everywhere, you know. and you
Yeah.
got into first call outs, and so did Danielle,
Hmm.
and immediately called just because, like, at nationals, typically, like, if the judges, I mean, based on my experience, it seems like whenever, like, they're doing the first looks, when they're looking for conditioning, a lot of times, like, they're pinpointing who's dialed in, like, who's
Hmm.
truly stage lean and, like, just gnarly conditioning. Let's
Yeah.
stack them up and see what they look like together. Not always the case, but conditioning is definitely what can get you into the first call outs at the national level. And you had by far the gnarliest conditioning in your class. Like, you didn't, obviously we needed more size and stuff, and there was
Yeah.
some things that we needed to work on, but it was just like, pretty much every show that you've done, besides maybe one or two, like, and this has only happened with you, where, like, I hear people in the behind me just being like, holy shit, or they're like, that, like, conditioning, like, I just hear people saying conditioning, or like, oh yeah, he's peeled, like, I just hear whispers behind me. It's crazy. Like, every pretty much every show you've done, like, I hear whispers behind me. It's always funny. But that year at nationals, you looked just hard as nails, bro. It was
Yeah.
insane. And those
Yeah.
Will Whitman shots that he got were just, like,
Yeah.
absolutely nutty.
I love that look. That was in that again at the time we were still trying to do open bodybuilding, but of course, little did we know I should have been in classic physique. But it was still a great showing. Like, I mean, yeah, I
Mm.
got seventh out of, like, I don't even remember, but like you said, it was stacked. There was a ton of dudes in that my division and that weight class. So, but that was a fun show too. Again, of course, I was a little defeated because, yeah, I didn't get my pro card. But again, I was like, you know what, this is my first show, and I'm getting first call outs at this placing, like, within what was that, 2 years of actually competing, like, yeah, craziness.
Hmm. Yeah, and that nationals in Texas, like, the venue is unbeatable too. It's like a really
Hmm.
great experience, really nice area to be competing in.
Yeah.
The production is insane. It's probably, like, it's one of the best shows to do, like, in the entire world, I would argue,
Yeah.
just in terms of, like, the venue, the production, the experience of it. So it's a lot of fun, and when you're competing at the highest level, you're going against the best of the best.
Hmm.
And everybody's been, the national level is funner for me, in my opinion, because I've, had athletes at the pro level and stuff too. It's like the national level is, like, fun for me because it's like all the athletes are so hungry. The coaches are
Hmm.
so hungry. Like, that pro card is just like, the
Yeah.
only thing better than that's, like, an Olympia qualification. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when
Hmm.
you, like, everybody's just hungry, like, willing to do whatever it takes to get that pro card. Everybody's there for the same reason, and it's to win their pro card, right? So
Hmm.
it's intense and it's fun. And I love that higher level of competition. And, like I said, I have a competitive background in other various, like, action sports and stuff. And, I was like, when I raced BMX, I was multi-time state champion, both in Washington State and Texas, in my specific class and everything, like age group and stuff,
Hmm.
and carried, like, the state championship plate. And then when I went on to do Grand Nationals, which is, like, at the time, the American Bicycle Association, ABA, was like the big organization that did all
Hmm.
the BMX racing and stuff. But Grand Nationals I went to, which was like the end all be all. It was like in
Hmm.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I got fourth place. And I was just like, you went there and you just saw how everybody else was riding, and it was just so intense. Like,
Yeah.
everybody was just like the best of the best of the best, in the amateur ranks. And
Yeah.
it's like that. And my trophy that I got for my fourth place was taller than any other trophy that I'd ever gotten to, from, like, my big ones. And I was like, that was like the fourth place that I got there was, like, more special to me than all my state championship titles. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Hmm.
I was like, this one is special because it was, like, so intense. And, like, it was just a grind. Like, I went
Yeah.
so hard and I rode my very best, but, like, I was riding with the best. And I always say too, like, I would rather get second or third place against, like, the best of the best than
Hmm.
get first place against, like, and just, like, it's
Yeah.
just not, like, I mean, like, super easy, like stealing candy from a baby kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's me personally. But
Yeah.
so we did nationals, and it was a great experience for you. And we had some big, like, just wins from it in terms of, conditioning, that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I think that was probably the best conditioning we've ever brought with you in terms of, like, just gnarly leanness and dryness and,
Yeah.
like, crispiness.
Yeah.
That's not to say that that is, like, obviously we can afford to be fuller, right? Like, your conditioning this year at the Branch Warren, I would argue is like, it's like, if I'm talking about conditioning just in the sense of just dry and like hard and peeled, like I would say nationals was your best
Yeah.
look. If I'm talking about just holistic package in terms of fullness, graininess, still hard conditioned, lean, like stage lean and,
Hmm.
dry, Branch Warren was probably your best package. But
Yeah.
those pictures from nationals are just kind of mind boggling, to be
Yeah.
honest, in terms of like how crispy you looked. It was pretty insane.
I need to repost. I need to repost some of those. I keep. I'm like, I know they're back there. At my phone.
Yeah.
So you're making me like, okay, I need to go back there and repost some of
Mhm.
those.
A little bit of nostalgia, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah, that show was a vibe. And then we took like a 2 year off season after that, right?
it was like a year, a little over a year, like year and a
Okay.
half. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think we took
Yes.
a 2 year off season between the Texas Cup and then the Texas State. Because we did take a 2 year off season, right? Because Nationals was in 2023. Your first show was in 2021. So that was the 2 year off season, I think.
No, first
Or do I have
show
it
was
wrong?
2022. Yeah. So 2022.
First, okay, that's
Yeah.
right.
And then 2023 was Texas State and
That's right.
Nationals.
Okay.
And
And then
then
we
we
took a
took
2 year off
oh,
season
yeah,
because we
it was
wanted
like
to
right
move
under,
into, yeah, we wanted
yeah.
to move into light heavyweight, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
We took,
that's right.
because what we took away from nationals was I was like pretty much capped out at middleweights,
Mhm.
but I looked a little. I was like you said, the conditioning was there, but I was taller than everybody. So the guys that won were
Mhm.
shorter than me.
Yeah.
So I looked a little stringy, but again, I wasn't stringy. I just was capped out at my weight cap. So that was our takeaway. Like staying within the open bodybuilding division, we need to move up and we kind of realized it's hard for me to gain weight. But I gained weight. We had a good off season. I definitely gained a little too much body fat, though. I believe that was the heaviest. So yeah, that was 2025. I think the heaviest from what I remember I got to was like 231, 232. It was like
Mhm.
a day or two. I was like over 230, and I just remember like that. It was like I think it was August and like between July and September. So like around that time frame, that was like the heaviest I had been. And I remember it was like it was really uncomfortable because
Mhm.
I've never been that heavy. And like it was cool being like at the gym, like training was like crazy because I was able to move like the heaviest weight I've ever been able to, up until now. But but yeah, just like day to day things, clothes, and just like walking around and putting on like as I wasn't like a friggin' like 250 plus bodybuilder, but I just for me, my body structure, I'm just naturally like I have if I don't train, if I don't eat enough, I lose weight. So like I just naturally am skinny. So I've never been that heavy yet before. So I just remember it was just like it was a struggle for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was around the heaviest I ever gotten to. I think like 225, 226.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm taller than you, but when I got to that weight, I was just like, I was so out of breath all the time, like walking upstairs and
Yeah.
stuff. And I definitely had more body fat than I probably should have around that time too. When I was trying to gain size, I was just eating as much as I possibly could and probably not
Yeah.
the best food sometimes, but it happens.
Yeah.
But after that 2 year off season, we went to do the Lila Brada Classic
Yep.
and we moved into the light heavyweights. But like you said, you had accumulated a little. I will say we had you accumulate a little bit more body fat than we maybe wanted to,
Yeah.
and then the prep was a little bit more intense in terms of trying to get those layers off of you. I think we
Yeah.
kind of like maybe were a little bit overly optimistic in terms of how quickly we could do that as well. So that show was probably like relatively speaking, not the best package that you had brought. It's
Yeah.
probably the worst package you brought, just to be honest here.
Yeah.
But it's still like, you were still conditioned in the grand scheme of things. You still
Yeah.
did well. You still had the shape. You just weren't as like I said, we set such a high standard with your conditioning that it was just
Hmm.
like, it wasn't quite up to par with the usual Jacob that we see. Right. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that
Yeah.
you were like in a bad spot at all by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
And then we continued to dial in and we did North Americans that year.
We did a
And
show
that's,
between. We
oh
did
yeah,
the
we did
remember.
it. Because we had to
Yeah.
qualify.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for Labrada, I got third, and that was like that was a big one for me. And like,
Yeah.
I take things very personal. Like
Mhm.
I wear my heart on my sleeve. So if anybody knows
Yeah.
me, like yeah, I definitely take a lot of things. But again, I think it's not a bad thing. It's just the way that you like handle it. But that Labrada show that brought me down a few pegs because again we've been so successful, and then that was like
Mhm.
the first show where yeah I didn't look as good as I'd looked in the past. the two guys that beat me were like, you know, the guy that won was just like, they just both had size and stuff, and that was unfortunate. So that was where I was just like, whew. And I remember we had a talk like right after, and you were like, you know, we're gonna get through this, and I'm like, okay, but we had to get top two to qualify for a national show, and I got third. So we did. I think what was it? It was it the Texas Big Show? It was in Dallas again. I can't remember what it was called. I have to look back. Actually, my trophies up here. I know I got a medal for it. I can probably look, but it was in Dallas. It was the same venue that the Nationals was in. So, but it was like the Texas Classic Show or something like that. But
Yeah, something.
that's when between because it was about a week between the two shows because it was like next weekend after, and we like dialed it in, and like the conditioning came back. I looked better at that show than I did at Labrada. I think the weight was a little lower, but that was like we were both like that's perfectly fine because the conditioning was like spot on. Like
Yeah.
that was a really good showing, and I got second. Again, the guy that beat me, he just was bigger. He just looked bigger than me, and that's when we started kind of like, okay, well, there's a trend going on here. Like I'm getting beat by guys that structurally are bigger than me. And so then we did North Americans, and that show, I attest, even though it was the worst placing, it was the most fun because we went to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was a beautiful city. It was so much fun, like just walking around downtown and stuff after the show. But kind of getting personal here, that was so my parents they're divorced. They've been divorced since I was like not even two, but they've had a great relationship growing up. Like they're friends and whatnot. But it's been a long time since I've had like spent time with both my mom and my dad, and it just be us three because they're both remarried. So my mom and both my parents have been to every single show. So that's like another thing that I'm like I'm truly grateful to have like such supporting parents and this crazy venture that we do. And it's like so awesome because it's like it's not even a question of like, hey, can you come? They're like, when is the show? When's the next show? Like tell me so I can be there. But anyways, so my mom came up there, we flew up there together, and my dad came up there, and they just came alone, not with their spouses. So that whole weekend, it was like the original like trio. It was like all of us hanging out. So again, I think I got second call outs at Pittsburgh. So yeah, I placed out of the first call outs, so top 5 or 6. But so that again, that was kind of unfortunate. But then I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna enjoy it because I competed first, and then that's when Danielle got her pro card. So I was like, I shifted my mind to like, okay, I can either sit here and be a little bratty, whiny baby and say, woe is me, or you know what, hey, learning experience. We're gonna move on, focus on this later. Now we're gonna focus on Danielle, and she got her pro card, and like that, I test to the two things I test that competition to was like spending time with my parents, and then being there and being able to experience that like literal core memory with Danielle and you getting her pro card. And like that was like just so like it's like seeing like them calling her out like Danielle Dooley pro, like we're just like I think we were both sitting next to each other, we're just like what the hell. Yeah, literally like screaming. Like that was so amazing, like that, like so much fun, like and that I think that was kind of like a little like another little light bulb in my head, like oh man, if I start coaching people and like I can get this feeling. And I remember you told me a while ago, like whenever you're like, I'm done competing, but that's okay because I'm coaching people, and like essentially when they win, I'm winning with them, so I'm getting that feeling every single time. So like having that feeling was like, oh, okay, I see why Sean likes to coach. I think I want to start doing this coaching thing too. But anyways, that was a great the trip, and everything except for the placing was awesome. And even the show itself, I test like if we could do that show again, I would do it in a heartbeat. The way it was ran was like the best. Literally, like the Texas shows here are ran great, but there's just something up north, man. Those guys, they love what they do. Like all of the backstage people, all of the organizers, even the tanning people. Like that was the best tanning company. It wasn't Pro Tan. It was like I can't remember what it was called, Sunrise or something, but they were great. The way that they ran the tanning thing, and then the backstage glazers, they were like checking up on like you didn't have to go up to them; they would go up to you and like, I think you need a little bit. I'm like, and I'll just be standing there like, okay, it was just a awesome show. The way the organization that ran it, and like Gary Udit, I don't know how to say his name, but Uday or whatever. He runs a good show up there, and
Mhm.
those guys like were awesome. And they were just even talking about like, if you're up here, Pittsburgh, like they were telling us like all the spots to hit, like all of like the touristy things to do, and like yeah, it was a ton of fun. And they actually, that was like also the first show where they actually tell you like how things are ran. Like I don't know, it's weird because things happen so fast backstage. A lot of times they're just like, number 21, where are you at? And you're just like, oh, I'm right here. And then they just like, all right, you're up at stage. Like they don't tell you exactly like how the
Mhm.
process works and like what to do. They were just like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna line up here when we call your, like had everything
Mhm.
so like dialed in and organized and just like so smooth. Like yeah, I tell people, if you can go to Pittsburgh and do that and do North Americans, do North Americans, because that was such a
Mhm.
great show, like just the way it was ran. But yeah, that was again, it was overall it was a really great experience. It just again, that was also when we realized, okay, we need to we need to switch gears and we need to have new goals. And the big thing we took away from that was switching to classic physique.
Mhm. And here you are, man.
Yep,
Yeah, shout out North Americans and Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh's an underrated city, man,
I
because
agree.
I didn't know what to expect. And like I was like, damn, this place is beautiful. Like we
Mm-hmm.
were like on the little river, like with the bridges and stuff.
Yeah,
It was gorgeous out there. The food was good.
yeah,
There was like a
yeah,
lot of culture there.
yeah,
Yeah, I love Pittsburgh, man.
yeah. Me too.
We'll definitely, you know, with other athletes or whatever that looks like, get back to North Americans and some
Mm-hmm.
went back to Pittsburgh. So
Yeah, no, for sure.
but yeah, man, there's some like really important stuff that we've discussed here, like, overcoming losses because, like the one thing about winners, like people that consistently win, is that they also consistently lose. And like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's big losses or little losses, like, they say losers or winners lose more than losers ever will. Like that's like a
Yeah.
saying, and it's very true. And you have to be able to overcome those losses and take it on the chin, and that's what you did after the Lebrada Classic. Do you remember like some of the specific things I said to you after that show?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say one thing. Seen this meme before. You just reminded me. I've seen this come across Instagram. A winner is a loser who didn't give up, and I
Yep.
kind of really attest to that because like I feel like my not my whole life, but I feel like I just like if I want to do something, I just continue to do it like regardless. Like I won't give up until like I achieve my goal essentially. But yeah, I remember you took a lot of blame on yourself, and I appreciate that. But it's a mutual thing. We both just did things that weren't didn't bring the best package, but you were just like if you want to do, because you had brought up the show that next weekend, you're like, if you want to do this, like we can keep going, but like do not let this like break your spirit. Like you are a freaking amazing bodybuilder. Like you work so hard, and it was
Mhm.
like it was hit me really emotional too, because you're really emotional about it too. But like again, that's why we have such a great working relation, just a great, not working, but just like a great relationship as coach to athlete, is just because like we are both so passionate about this sport. Like we both love it. And I really saw that. Like I know you're passionate about it, but I really saw that passion like bleed through that night or whatever time it was. And I was just like, okay, like that was another big factor. Like I got to keep going. Like, I got a great freaking coach on my side. Like we're going to get through this, like whatever it takes kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But we're going to go and wrap this up. Obviously, we're going to have you on again so we can keep discussing, like more present times. But
Yeah.
we did a good job of kind of going through your journey so far, excluding like what we've done this year. Hopefully, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people have kind of seen that already and some of the successes that we've had. And, overcoming those hurdles and getting through the losses and being able to take them on the chin is really important, not only as like, an athlete or somebody striving towards anything ambitious, but also as a leader too, being able to take
Yeah.
those hits on the chin, being able to take responsibility for your role to play there, but, not dwelling and being able to overcome it. You have to
Yeah.
feel what you're feeling in the moment, you know, sort through those things. don't bottle it up, talk to people that are in your corner and overcome those things together and rise above. That's what's important at the end of the day. And with Saga Coaching, like the whole reason that we call it Saga is because that's what that word means. It's like it's the journey, it's the hero's journey, it's the trials and tribulations, it's the difficulties along the way. It's like climbing the mountains and climbing back down the hill to climb the next mountain. It's like the challenges that you have to face along the way is what a saga is. It's a whole story, right? And very rarely will you ever hear like a long like story or like a saga or like anything of that sort. I guess the Odyssey is a good example of this, right? Like his journey home, like all the challenges that he faces, but he gets home, right? And there's catharsis. So it's like that journey. And that's, what Jacob embodies for sure, is just overcoming those challenges, feeling what he feels, and navigating appropriately and getting through it so that he can reach that next level of success. And the success that we had this current year is definitely a testament to that, and the success that he has coming to him when he has that pro card in hand will be a testament to getting through all these challenges as well. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and a lot of bodybuilders feel that way. That's why whenever they do take a loss, they just they toss everything into the wind, or they think that they need it, like they automatically need a new coach, or they need to do this and that. That's not necessarily the case, right? Like it's just that you have to get through the challenges together and have the right people in your corner to do so as well. So Jacob, tell the people where they can find you at on Instagram and where to reach you.
Yeah. Jacob Carr 414 is my Instagram. You can reach me there. And I'm coaching with Saga, and I'm ready to work with some peeps. So hit me up, DM me, all the fun stuff. I'm here, and I'm ready.
Let's go. Yeah, Jacob's the new coach on the team. He embodies everything that we stand for here at Saga Coaching. And I'm helping him a lot in terms of like his knowledge and stuff. And he's gained so much knowledge up until this point from everything that we've done. He understands our systems extremely well. There's nobody better to be coaching on the Saga brand, holding the high level of standards and doing everything that he needs to do to provide a high level of coaching service to everybody. So if you're looking for a coach, you're wanting to start bodybuilding, whatever that looks like, hit up Jacob, because he's going to be a perfect fit for you guys. And he's just, he walks the walk every single day, and he leads by example. So there's really nobody better to be working with. But we'll go and close things out, man. Thanks for joining me today, and we'll have you back on very soon.
Heck yeah, I'm ready. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you for joining us. Your journey towards excellence does not end here. We're here to help guide you every step of the way. For more insights and to become a part of our community, follow and subscribe. Your feedback illuminates our path. Be sure to share your thoughts and stay tuned for more episodes.